Hello everyone, this is Hero of Legend from GoingSony.com and welcome to this week's episode of the Weekly Recap, where I'll take a look at the top stories from May 14th to May 18th. We're starting today with a bit of sad news. Bosky Productions, the developer behind Lawbreakers, has officially shut down. In a statement, Cliff Bleszinski said, in part, 4 years ago, I set out to make a world-class video game studio, and I hired some of the best talent in the video game industry. They worked tirelessly to produce quality products, and while we had our ups and downs, I'd like to think we had fun doing it. Lawbreakers was a great game that unfortunately failed to gain traction, and in a last-ditch attempt, we scrambled to do our take on the huge battle royale genre with Radical Heights, which was well received. However, it was too little, too late. He also took to Twitter to talk a little bit about 3 games that were in very early development at Bosky Studios. The first of which was codenamed Dog Walkers, and he described it as a multiplayer VR World of Tanks type of game, where players would be piloting these really big mechs, and some players would be gunners, or they would repair things, and that type of deal. He also described a more fun one called Donuts, which he described as Mario Kart on water with animals in VR. And the final one, which has me the most interested, even though it'll never be made at this point, is called Dragonflies, where players would play as ninjas or samurais with the ability to ride on dragons, and they would fight zombies with friends. The really cool thing about it is you would actually hatch dragons and raise them, and it's sad that something like this will never get made, but it's always sad when people lose their jobs, and I hope that these talented developers find new jobs soon. But I gotta say, I played Lawbreakers and it felt a little uninspired to me, so I'm hoping that not only will these people find jobs again, but that they will also find more success in what they do. Next up is more sad news, as 3 games this week were delayed. The first of which was Metro Exodus. The developer released a statement saying, "We want everyone to be able to experience what is the most ambitious Metro game to date at its absolute best, and therefore we have taken the decision to move the release date to the first quarter of 2019. We know that this will be disappointing news for fans that had hoped to play the game this year, but also know that you will appreciate the results that this additional development time and new release date will bring." The next game to be delayed was Shenmue 3, and I'm sorry if I'm saying that name wrong. I've never actually heard anyone say it out loud before. But the developers released a statement saying Shenmue 3 has been moved and will now release in 2019. The extra time will be used to polish the quality of the game even further to the high standards it deserves and release the product in the best possible time frame. And finally, Ubisoft's Skull and Bones was also delayed. In an earnings call, Ubisoft said, "In line with previous practices and in view of the acceleration of our digital transformation, growth in back catalog sales, and excellent momentum of recent releases, Ubisoft has decided to give itself more time to develop Skull and Bones to offer players an even more engaging experience." Now, obviously games getting delayed is nothing new, but what is actually worse than the disappointment of having to wait on that game longer is the possibility that something is going wrong with development. There's lots of reasons why a game can get delayed, and some of those reasons do involve development not going well. So I hope with all 3 of these games and the people that are excited for them, that these are regular delays where they're moving it because they don't want as much competition, or they just need more time for polish. Normal reasons. I can only hope that that's what we're looking at here, as opposed to something going bad and a bad product eventually coming out. Next up is unfortunately even more bad news, especially if you're a fan of the PlayStation Vita. Sony has announced by the close of fiscal year 2018, they will stop producing physical Vita cartridges. This means that after that point, any developer that wants to release a game will have to do it digitally. Now, this is just a sign of the Vita dying, or as many would say, it's already dead. And I'm not bothered by this news, but I know a lot of people are going to be. The Vita still has a strong following amongst the people that love it, and I know that collecting physical games is something that those people love. The bright side of this is that a few people have come out, the biggest one being Limited Run Games, which says that they have 30 physical games planned for the Vita, and all of them will release in that timeline. So there's still going to be a lot of physical games coming out for the people that want them, and hopefully they'll actually increase production, because I'm sure a lot more people are going to want them now. Moving on, Treyarch had an event this week where they went into more detail for Call of Duty Black Ops IV. We did get a first look at multiplayer gameplay, which is what you're seeing here, but they had a bigger announcement, which was that there will not be a single-player campaign for the game. A lot of people are upset, but I'm really happy about it. I have never felt that the single-player campaigns in Call of Duty and games like Call of Duty are worth keeping. They've always felt more like multiplayer games to me. And I think it's really great because they're actually replacing it with something, which is Blackout, which is a Battle Royale mode for Call of Duty. We don't know too much about it, but they did say it will feature the largest Call of Duty map ever made, and it will be a mashup of previous Call of Duty maps. And playable characters will also be characters from previous Call of Duty games. Now, the thing that interests me most about this decision is this is the first big developer that is getting in on the Battle Royale genre. And I am very interested to see how games like Fortnite are going to handle this new competition, and are they going to be able to keep up, and what kind of niches are going to be found between them. And you know, Black Ops 4 is not going to be the last one to do this, but it is the start of bigger developers taking a shot at it. So I can't wait to see where that's going to go and who is going to come out on top. Rage 2 has been officially announced after having been leaked last week by Walmart. Even still, we don't know too much about the game just yet. We did get a fancy new trailer, and Bethesda did confirm that there will be no loot boxes in the game. But before you get too excited, they also confirmed that it will be a games as a service title. Now, we don't exactly know what that means, but I assume they're talking about players paying for things in-game with real money. I'm not against the idea of this 100%. I wrote an article a while ago that talked about understanding why developers are trying to make more money. You know, the cost of development is going up, and they're just doing whatever they can to make up for that. But I'm still waiting for a game that does it right. I feel like there is the potential out there for a game to do something like this without being intrusive and without restricting content that should have been in the game day one. I'm a little hopeful that Bethesda will be the publisher to do that, but that remains to be seen, and we're just going to have to wait to see if they can pull it off. Moving on to this week's rumor review, this week I'd like to talk about a rumor/leak of apparently Nintendo's E3 lineup. Now, I am going to be upfront with everyone. I think that this rumor is absolute nonsense. I do not know, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I do not know of any time when a document that detailed any sort of video game company's upcoming event turned out to be true. So, keeping that in mind, this document does list a Fallout 3 Anniversary Edition, which we're also hearing would release on the PlayStation 4. I do admit that I am new to being a Fallout fan. Fallout 4 was actually my first one, and I enjoyed the game a lot, but I don't know how much I would be interested in going back and playing Fallout 3, unless you have a situation where it is dramatically better in every single way to Fallout 4. I think I would rather have like an Oblivion remake or a Morrowind remake, and I also feel that those would probably be more popular. We haven't had a new Elder Scrolls game in a really long time, and we're probably not going to get one for a really, really long time. And I know that they keep releasing Skyrim over and over and over again, and a lot of people are getting tired of that, but I really think that a Morrowind remake would be much more well received than a Fallout 3 remake. Again, I don't think this rumor is true, but if it is, that's how I feel about it. And that's all from me this week. Friendly reminder, E3 is 26 days away, so things are really gonna start getting crazy here soon, especially since a lot of developers like to announce games in advance of E3. But I haven't decided what my coverage of E3 is gonna look like this year, so if anyone has a suggestion, I would love to hear it. I'm completely open-minded as to what I can do and what you all would like to see. So until next week, thanks everyone.